Welcome to Let's Talk Philippines Originals. Hope you enjoyed today's story, and if I could ask you to subscribe, that would mean the world. So let's get into today's original. I was visiting the Philippines for the first time. A good friend of mine had been going there for years, and he was even married to a Filipina. He brought her back to the US, and they seemed like they were a perfect couple. She even got a job so she could help out with the bills, and they wanted to move to the Philippines when they retired. My friend was 20 years older than she was, and that didn't seem to matter to them. They were happy, and it made me think that I wanted to do the same. I'd just come out of a relationship that I thought was going to be more than it was, but she was just so materialistic and wanted to do a lot more than I was able to provide. She ended up finishing with me, so I gratefully can say that we didn't get married, as that would have made things a lot worse and I would have likely lost a lot more money. But when I went to the Philippines, my friend had told me everything that I needed to be careful about, the best places to go, and what I would be able to get up to when I was there. I'd never been to Asia before. In fact, I'd only ever travelled to Mexico once. That was the first and last time I'd ever left the US. To say I was scared was an understatement. I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't know what it was like to have the comfort of home so far away. It did make me feel one day like I didn't know if I should actually do this, or if I was doing the right thing. I got even more worried when I landed in Manila. The city was mad. I'd heard of the traffic, but there's nothing that prepares you for what it's actually like. It took 2 hours to get to my hotel, and that was only a couple of miles away. But I did end up getting there, and it was late at night. The girl behind the reception was so beautiful, and this made me comfortable for the first time since I boarded the plane back at home. All the girls must look like this, I thought, so maybe I'd be in for some luck. I was staying in Makati. When I ventured out that evening after freshening up, I can say that it was nothing like I was expecting. There's nothing that can prepare you for how insane the city is, but I felt like I could really get used to it. My friend told me the first place I needed to go was P. Burgos Street. Jump in at the deep end and go check out the bars there. I went in some of them, and what I saw blew me away. Never seen anything like that before. We don't have stuff like that at home, and here it was, so out in the open. I didn't do anything. I just had a beer in about 5 different bars before calling it a night. The next morning, I explored more of the city. I got myself a taxi and went to some of the areas that were meant to be the most popular. I wanted to go to as many of them as possible. Because the traffic was so bad, I couldn't get to all of them in one day. BGC was the most like the US, so I could understand why many expats moved there and why many tourists stayed there as well. I was only going to be in Manila for 3 days. I was then heading to Angeles City, which was meant to be a lot more crazy and cheaper as well. That's what I was expecting, and that's what I'd been told. When you look on the map, it only looked like it's an hour away, but it took 4 hours to get there on the bus. The roads at the time I was going were jam-packed most of the way. When I finally got there, I was feeling really sick and ended up just crashing in my hotel that day and night as well. Luckily, I was feeling better in the morning and I hit the city. I felt Angeles was even more unexpected than Manila. I'd never seen any videos about what it looked like, and I was expecting to be more developed and cleaner, but it had this grimy attractiveness, and I felt like I was somewhere I could say resembled the Wild West. I spent the morning and afternoon getting my bearings and having a good explore. At night, I went to some of the bars and had some drinks and just went to see what it was all about. I noticed there were a lot of Korean restaurants, and it seemed to be a lot of Korean people there as well. I think that a lot of them migrated to the city. I'm not sure why Angeles was attractive to them, but I loved Korean food and went for some awesome barbecue that evening. I couldn't help it, but I noticed just how many girls there were around Angeles. They all looked so incredibly beautiful. I was warned to be careful because you never know what they're up to, but if you are careful, you can have a good time. And some guys even meet girls that become their wives. I can definitely say I wasn't looking for a wife right now, but I was going to be in Angeles for a week, and I did want to have a good time. A time that I remember and I could tell my friends about at home. My friend did tell me that he met his wife in Angeles. He wasn't shy to admit it, but she worked in one of the bars there, and he actually told me that he got a kick out of it. I never really understood what he meant about that until I arrived. I did meet a girl I liked in one of the bars. She told me about everything and how it worked there. She wasn't the most beautiful girl in the bar, but she had something that stood out, and I wanted to get to know her. I asked if she'd like to go and have some drinks with me in another bar, and she said yes. So we went out for a few drinks. Everywhere you go in the Philippines, you're greeted with a hello, sir. I always found that a bit funny, but it did show that some level of respect, and that respect went a long way. We went to another amazing place for some more drinks, and we had a great time. The next morning, I woke up with a buzz. I had one of the best nights ever, and I was enjoying my first trip to the Philippines. I could understand what attracted my friends there all those years ago when he met his wife, but I was thinking more along the lines of what it would be like to live there, as opposed to just meet someone and take them back to the US. I was fortunate enough to work online and had been doing that for years, which meant I could really work anywhere. I found the internet connection in the Philippines, at least in the places that I stayed, was adequate for all the work I needed to do, but I only thought about that for a short amount of time. I'd only just arrived, and I needed to learn more about the country and everything it had to offer. I need to go back to the Wild West feeling I got when I first arrived in Angeles. I hadn't really heard other people describing it that way, but for me, it did feel similar to the Wild West. We all hear stories as kids about the Wild West and wish we could go back and visit our country when it was still in the early days. Being absolutely truthful, when I say it felt like I was living that dream in the Philippines, it did. That night, I went for some more drinks before going to a bar where I met another girl. She was more beautiful than the last one. She was funny as well, a great sense of humour, and she was able to make me laugh, which not many people could. We had a great time in her bar, but I was getting hungry and asked if she knew a place not far away. She said she did, and they had the best food in Angeles. I didn't think anything about this and said let's go for it, so she took me to a restaurant not far away. To tell you the truth, it was actually quite a long way away from the bar. I was expecting a 3 or 4 minute walk, but it was actually a 20-minute taxi ride, but I didn't mind. I was just happy to be in her company. When we arrived, we walked in and were given a table. There weren't many people in the restaurant, and I didn't know what to order. I didn't even look at the menu and asked her to order her favourite dishes, which she did. 10 minutes later, 5 dishes appeared on the table, as well as a bottle of wine, and I thought this was probably going to cost me a bit. The food was okay, it wasn't the best, just okay, and the wine was so-so. I was just enjoying my time with her, and we were talking about all kinds of things. She said she was from further down south on one of the islands down there. I can't remember which island she said. She said she was trying to help make her family have a better life because they were poor. We got another bottle of wine and were in the restaurant for approaching an hour. Not so long, but enough time to have got to know each other a little bit better. When I asked for the bill, I expected it to cost about $100, but the bill came to $500. I asked if this was correct, and they said yes. This, of course, was in pesos, but the amount was around $500, and that's the most expensive meal I'd ever had. I asked the girl I was with, and she said it was normal. She told me I asked her to go for a really nice meal, and yes, I wanted to go for a nice meal, but I didn't want to spend $500 on a nice meal and a few bottles of wine. She begged me not to make a scene, and the people working in the restaurant just looked at me, waiting for me to hand over the money. Luckily, I had the amount of money in my wallet. I actually had around $1,000, because I like to carry cash around for emergencies, and I paid the bill and left. It was expensive, I told her, and I wasn't expecting that. Why did it cost so much? I'm sorry, she said. I don't know. I thought you wanted to go to a really nice place. Looking at it from the outside, it wasn't anything special, and it wasn't in any of the main areas either. It hadn't yet come to mind that perhaps this was a setup. Never mind, I thought. It's not like the money would cause me an issue or affect me if I didn't have it. It was just more than I was expecting it to be. Let's go and get some drinks then, I said. If only I'd known what was going on. I'd have left her there and then, but I didn't. I know a great place to get some drinks, she said. It's not far away from here as well. You want to go there? I should have said no. I should have picked my own place. But we went to this place nearby. A great bar, she said, but it didn't look like a bar to me. But I went with it, and we went in and ordered some beers. We had 3 beers each and asked for the bill. And at the time, it came to $100. $100 for 6 beers. Surely that can't be right. And again, she said don't make a scene. This is a great place, she said, and it's good to come here. It then dawned on me what had happened. I bet she wasn't in it with the place as she took me and was getting a commission. I highly doubted that she actually wanted to come to these places, and she had just taken me there as a way to scam me. I didn't want to make a scene, as I was quite a long way from the hotel, but I knew there and then what had happened. So I paid and we left. I told her I was going to get a taxi and go back to my hotel alone, and she looked upset and shocked. I told her I wasn't stupid, and you've taken me 2 places, and the bill has been far more than it should have been. You've scammed me, and I bet you got a commission as well. She looked at me like the game was up and said she wasn't doing that, but you could tell she was lying. And I went back to my hotel and wanted to go back to her bar the next day to tell the manager. The next day, I did go back to the bar, and she was working there. I spoke to the manager and said what happened. The manager looked at me like it wasn't a problem and said I should have asked the prices before I went in. All you have to do is ask and they'll tell you. But it was obvious, I said. Can you do something about it, or at least give me the commission that she earned back? She didn't earn a commission, they said, and I was just told to politely forget about it, or it wouldn't be good for me. Something along those lines, so I let it go. It did spoil that day, but the next day I just forgot about it and went on with my vacation. I met another great girl the very next day, and again I asked if she would like to go for something to eat with me, and she did, and I chose the place, and I didn't have a problem with anything. I was speaking to some people who told me that this was a scam, and it can happen from time to time, and you've got to be careful. The cardinal rule when you go to any place is to ask what the prices are first. If you ask what the prices are, they can't scam you. But if you openly let her choose where she wants to go, it could potentially turn out to be a scam, and that's what happened. It's unlucky, but it happened, and you have to get over it. I decided that it was a lesson learned, and I did get over it and had another amazing few days in Angeles. From there, I went down to Cebu. It was nice to have some beach time in a not-so-hectic city, and I felt that Cebu had something about it that made me realise why so many people moved there. It was more laid back, nowhere near as hectic as Manila and Angeles, and it was close to amazing beaches, and I really liked it. I spent a good week in Cebu before heading back to Manila for a few more days, and then returning to the US not long after. When I got back, I told my friend what had happened, and he laughed at me. How did you not see that coming? He said. If you're going somewhere, ask for the prices. Never tell a girl to choose where to go, and on top of that, never fail to ask what the prices are. You might be thinking that you're looking like a cool guy for not caring how much it costs, but deep down, you expect the price to be realistic. She was obviously in on it, and probably made a good cut. Why else would she have taken me such a long way away in a taxi? We did have a good laugh about it, and I've since been back to the Philippines 3 times. The last time I went for 3 months and tested out living there and what it was like. It was great, and I love the Philippines more than any other country, and I plan to move there permanently soon. To anyone listening, be careful when you're there. 99% of you are going to be fine, but there is that small chance that someone's going to try and take something from you and scam you. In a way, I'm lucky that I got away with losing only $600. I suppose I didn't even lose that, really. The bill should have been something like $100 for everything at both places, so maybe only $500. It's still an amount of money I didn't want to lose, and I could have spent it better elsewhere. Be careful in the Philippines, guys, and have a great time. Thanks for tuning in to today's Let's Talk Philippines original. For a link to the first version, please see the description. Thanks everyone, please subscribe, and I really appreciate it. Catch you in the next one.